Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today making a video on how to become an officer in the Marine Corps. Before I begin with the different paths you can take towards becoming an officer in the Marine Corps, I do want to preface this by asking two questions, all right? First, what's your why, all right? What's the reason that you want to be, like, not only, the specific reason for wanting to become a Marine Corps officer, but also why do you want to be in the military and why do you want to be an officer, all right? You need to ask yourself that and figure out that reason because it is important, and I promise you that during the training it will be tested, and that why will be your only glimmer of hope that pushes you through the training itself. And that actually segues into our second question, which is how bad do you want it? Because the Marine Corps is arguably the hardest path, or requires the hardest path towards becoming an officer. There are obviously very few Marine Corps officers. There's very few Marines as a whole. That's why the Marine Corps is called the few, the proud. But in any case, like I said, it's certainly the road less traveled. But you need to understand that it's very, very difficult. It is, the road less traveled for a reason. It's a very difficult program to get through in any, in any way, shape, or form. Very mentally and physically taxing. So understanding how bad you want it and if you're willing to really put in the work necessary to become an officer is important. So in terms of the paths that you can take towards becoming an officer in the Marine Corps, there are a number of different paths, all right? So I actually am just gonna list them out first, and then I'm going to explain each different option in depth, all right? Now I broke this down into basically in college and out of college. If you're in college or about to be in college, you're in high school, there are certainly a number of different options. And then when you're out of college, there's really one specific route that you can take, unless you're an enlisted Marine for that matter, in which case, of course, you have a number of different enlisted officer programs. But from the in-college standpoint, you can go to a service academy, all right? So there's two different service academies you can go to. People don't know this, but there are actually two service academies you can go to commission as a Marine. You can go to the Naval Academy, which is the hallmark academy, the one that everybody knows. Well, obviously, graduating naval officers, obviously they graduate Marine Corps officers as well, because the Marine Corps doesn't have their own specific academy. But you can go to either the Naval Academy or, and like I said, this is the lesser known service academy, a lesser known option, but the Merchant Marine Academy. Okay, so this is actually a school in Long Island, New York, and I encourage you to look more into it. I'm not going to go into great detail about what the school is or what the school does, but as a whole, like I said, just understand it's also a service academy, so the same things that apply to the Naval Academy apply to that school. Now next you have NROTC, so joining an NROTC program at a school of your choosing. Now obviously every school doesn't offer NROTC, so you have to make sure that you figure out which schools offer the program, but joining the NROTC program with the Marine option is another commissioning route. Lastly, from the in-college standpoint, there's PLC, which is Platoon Leaders Class. That's currently what the program that I'm currently in. I've made a separate video all about PLC because it's a very, very unknown program, I'd say. So I did want to go in depth with that. So check out that other video if you are really interested in the nitty-gritty of that program. Now, in terms of out-of-college commissioning routes or paths you can take, there's really only one option, which is OCC. I believe that's Officer Candidates Course. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But OCC is, like I said, that's if you're out of college, you're already working, and you're not over the age limit, which they're shifting the age limit a little bit. It used to be, I believe, 28 or 29. But in any case, like I said, if you're somebody just out of college or a couple years out of college, that's a program that you would look into. And then, of course, if you're already in the Marine Corps, there's a number of different enlisted officer programs, like the MESEP program, for example. But for those of you who are already Marines, I'm sure that there's plenty, or I would hope that there's plenty of resources available to explain each program in depth, or that there's somebody that you're under a good officer who can explain those programs to you better. In that regard, I'll try to explain them to the best of my ability, but you guys probably know and have the resources better than I do with those programs. So now I'm going to basically explain each program. All right, so if you choose the Service Academy route, essentially you'll apply. You'll hopefully, assuming you get into one of those schools, right? You'll apply. You'll get into the school. And then you'll attend the school for 3 years. And your last summer, the summer before your senior year, you'll go to a place called Leatherneck. Basically, what this is a 4-week training program, which is designed to screen and evaluate, test you, mentally and physically. I've never been to Leatherneck, so I can't overly speak on behalf of it, but Service Academy kids don't go to the traditional officer candidate school, which I have been to, because essentially all 4 years of their college, life, they're involved in that military type environment. So they're actually getting the training over the course of 4 years. So that's why instead of going to OCS, they go to Leatherneck. It also fits better with their schedule. So it's a little bit shorter. I've heard it's still, just as intense, but like I said, it's 4 weeks versus, either 2 6-week increments or 1 10-week increment for officer candidate school individuals. But like I said too, their summers are also kind of weird the way they do it. So it actually fits into their schedule a little bit easier as well. But like I said, that's essentially the program you go to, Leatherneck. And then after that, you will graduate and commission as an officer in the Marine Corps. Next is the NROTC program. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and preface this by saying, just so we're all on the same page, that for NROTC, at least for you guys who are in high school, you don't apply to the NROTC program and that gets you automatically into the school or vice versa. All right, so first what I would do is I'd look up all the schools that have NROTC programs. If you're really that, interested in becoming a Marine officer or even a naval officer for that matter, I would look up all the schools that offer the NROTC program. From there, I would see if any of them match up with the schools you had already intended to go to. Then you have to apply to the school and apply to the program. Now there is a chance you get into the school but don't get into the program. Or vice versa, you get into the program but don't get into the school, because you're getting into the program specific to a school, right? So you're not just getting into NROTC and then you choose which school that applies to. You're making selections. You essentially give like your first, second, and third choice, but as a whole, they are going to accept you into a specific school's NROTC program. That's how they spread the wealth with all the all the students and make sure that certain kids aren't pooling up at one specific school. So that out of the way, you go to a school, you get an NROTC scholarship, pays for the full college, which is nice. Obviously, service academies are free, so that's all paid for as well. The only training block you'll do, well, I don't want to say only, because it's kind of similar to the Naval Academy and the Merchant Marine Academy in that your training is over the course of 4 years, all right? So even though you're not doing the military stuff every single day, as a Marine option NROTC student, probably Wednesday and Friday, you'll do morning PT, and you'll have naval science classes, and you will be part of, a highly invested club. It's like a club that takes it to the next level. All right, so it's part-time-ish type gig, but as a whole, like I said, still plenty of training. From there, the summer before you graduate, so same thing as the Naval Academy and NROTC, or I'm sorry, same as the Merchant Marine Academy, you'll go to OCS. Like I said, Officer Candidate School. If you've seen my other videos, you know about this. You go to OCS. As an NROTC kid, you only do 1 6-week increment. So keep that in mind, right? 1 6-week increment. So you go there for 6 weeks and you're done. You do your senior year, your last year at school, and then you graduate and become an officer. The next program is PLC. Like I said, I have made another video that explains this program in depth, but from the standpoint of the training aspect, you actually don't do a whole lot of training during the school year, to be honest. You do, some physical events here and there, but you're pretty much just a normal college kid. There's not, for me, I don't have any specific, Marine Corps training during the school year, but that's why during the summer, I had to go to a full 10 weeks of officer candidate school. Now, I got selected for the program my junior year, which means that I did 1 10-week increment. If you get accepted in the program during your freshman or sophomore year, I didn't apply those years, but for those of you who do, or you get right into this into college and you want to do PLC, you find that that's the best program for you. If you get accepted during your freshman or sophomore years, you'll go to OCS 2 times, for 2 6-week increments. So that's juniors and seniors. Okay. So usually it'll be either the summer after your freshman year if you're selected as a freshman, or the summer after your sophomore year if you're selected as a sophomore. And then of course, the summer after your junior year and right before your senior year will be the second time you go to OCS. So again, like I said, with PLC, you can either do 2 6-week increments or the 1 10-week increment. And then from there, again, same thing. When you graduate, when you finish school completely, you will commission as an officer. All right, now looking at the out of college options for those of you guys who have already graduated from college. There's the OCC route, which, like I said, is I believe it's Officer Candidates course. And what that is like I said, for those of you guys who are out of college, you know, a year or two or whatever it is, a couple years, you apply to a nearby, like it's called an OSO. It's an officer selection officer, and what they do is essentially they receive your application. It's very similar to PLC. Receive your application, they put in a package for you, submit that, and you get either selected or not selected for a particular OCS class. Now, in terms of the training, you'll do a full 10 weeks of officer candidate school, but you may not go during the summer. You actually can go either like early in the year or late in the year as well. You could go to the summer OCS, but your timeline is different because you don't have school. Therefore, they don't have to specifically put your training during the summer. Okay, so keep that in mind, just so you're aware that you may not go to OCS in the summer. You may go at a different time of the year, which is not an option for any of the college students. And lastly, we have the enlisted to officer programs. Now, again, I don't know a whole lot about this. From my understanding, I believe you would, if you apply for whatever programs are available. Like I said, the one that I know of is the MESEP program. You would, if selected, you would get word from your command, and you would get orders for OCS, separate from your command, and from there go to OCS for the training block, of course. So I know a couple enlisted guys who finished OCS. They said they had to go back to their command to like finalize some paperwork and some of like their duties, and then obviously like grab all their gear and everything they have there. And then they went right to TBS, which is the next step after you commission. All right. So, like I said, unfortunately, I don't know a whole lot about that. If you know more about it and you want to, shoot me some information, I'd be happy to put it on the channel so that everybody's aware. But from the enlisted to officer side, I do hope that you guys have the resources that can really explain it, because it's a lot more complicated for you guys than it is for a civilian to get into one of these programs. All right, so the last note of importance, what's unique about the Marine Corps is that even after you commission, you still have necessary training that you need to partake in to really become an officer. Okay, so in other branches of service, yeah, there's some training after you commission, but I don't want to say it's not difficult, but it's not meant to wean out people, I don't think, for the most part, right? But with the Marine Corps, you do have to go to 6 months of, it's called TBS, which is the basic school. And basically what it is it's a generic 6 months of infantry, of basically the infantry officers course. It teaches you how to be a platoon commander for, an infantry platoon commander. And essentially it's far more difficult than OCS. A lot of people, I don't say a lot, but a fair amount actually don't make it through. So even if you commission, you may not actually get all the way through if you can't get past TBS. Now, it's TBS, like I said, 6 months versus like 6 to 10 weeks of OCS or 4 weeks of Leatherneck. So it's a lot more involved. It's a lot more specific. The evaluation process is a lot more rigorous. As a whole, it's, like I said, it's a lot more challenging. So when you graduate and you commission as an officer, or when you finish OCS and become an officer as an OCC candidate, you'll go right to TBS. TBS is in Quantico, Virginia. Same thing. So that's where OCS is as well. You'll go there for 6 months, and from there you'll get the option to select what MOS you want to partake in. That's military occupational specialty. Essentially, it's your specific job in the Marine Corps. So there are logistics officers, there's infantry officers, there's financial management officers. There's a whole slew of different jobs that you can be a part of in the Marine Corps. So like I said, after you complete and pass TBS, you will get the option to select your MOS, and if there's room, and if you rank highly enough in the TBS class, you will get that designation or that MOS. And from there, with that MOS, you go to an MOS school that's there, and they range from all around the country. So there's every MOS has a different location for their school. Once you finish the training for that, then you will go to your first or take charge of your first platoon at whatever station you are put at. So I hope this video has explained to you guys the process of becoming a Marine Corps officer and all the different commissioning routes that you can take. If you like this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. And until next time, I will see you guys. Take care.